there, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Janelle. Today I am doing a review of a book I just finished last night, like late last night. And the book is A Grandmother Begins the Story by Michelle Porter. This book, I haven't even really formulated my final thoughts on it. I know I loved it. I know it was fantastic and phenomenal. I know I would recommend it to people, but there's just so much to it. I think it's something that's going to be dwelling with me for a while. So let's see how I articulate my thoughts, because I haven't written them down yet. So essentially, the premise, the idea of A Grandmother Begins the Story is it's following multiple generations of women. How many generations? 1, 2, 5? Dominantly 3. Yeah. And it's so poetic. It's beautiful. The language, the writing style, it's gorgeous. It shifts perspectives constantly, every page or two, essentially. You have Mame, who is the great-great-grandmother who has passed on, and you're hearing from her in the spirit world and how she's handling her passing. You hear from Genevieve, or Jen, who is one of Mame's daughters, who is nearing the end of her life, and how the choices she makes to prepare for that. She's been an alcoholic and she decides to go into rehab, which is quite shocking for everyone in the rehab center, seeing someone of this age making that big of a life change at that point. You hear from Carter, who is the youngest woman, who has a young son, and she has lots of anger. She, her mother put her up for adoption. She now knows her mother, but she's got a lot of anger, a lot of resentment. The family that she was with, she had a very bad, abusive childhood, so she holds a lot of anger about that. Then you have her, you get bits with her mother and bits with her grandmother as well. You get bits of Genevieve's sister Velma. So there's a lot. As well as that, we get perspectives from the bison, the grandmother bison, the mother, the grass that holds them up, like the level of different perspectives. Sorry, my cats are looking like they're about to get zoomies. The level of perspectives is amazing. It's incredible, and it's very followable. It's very approachable, and I thought, seeing immediately how many different perspectives I was going to be coming across, I was worried that I wouldn't keep one person straight from the next, or wouldn't remember their last story, but the author circles it through really quickly, really clearly. It took me a moment to recognize it was the grass that was talking, and then once I figured that out, I was like, that is such a cool element to have there, and there's so much history poured into it as well. So it is an Indigenous story, and it's so interesting learning about the spirit world and learning about, it's a Métis family it follows, and you get ideas of prejudices that they've faced or abuses that they've withstood due to their culture, their history. And it's a book that I took like around a week with, and it's not that long. It's I think 317 pages, so it's not, you know, it's average, I'd say. But I took the time with it that I did, because it felt like the kind of book to just sink into, to just sit with, you know. There were some days where I would only read a couple of pages, but in those few pages I had a few different perspectives or a few different stories, and I just kind of sat with it and let it sit with me. And I don't think it's the kind of book that should be rushed through. I did read most of it yesterday. I just kind of stopped and took the time and just sat down, but I wasn't reading it for the sake of finishing it. I was just really wanting to spend time with these people and learn about them and to just see their interactions. And there's lots that's left unsaid, which feels very like realistic to a lot of family dynamics. Yeah, it boggled my mind. It was not what I expected at all. I didn't have big expectations going in, but by the synopsis, I kind of thought it would more so be narrated from Mame in the spirit world, and it wasn't. You saw her perspective, you saw what she was dealing with, and you learned about her history, and you learned about everybody's in little bits and pieces. But it just was giving you all these like little slices of their lives, and you even hear from puppies. So the amazing level of perspectives was incredible. I tabbed a couple times in the book, and I don't do that often, though I've since got some tabs, and I'm excited to start doing it more. It's not something that's typically like at the forefront of my mind, but there were a few quotes that just really stuck out to me. Typically, I think with the bison side of things, pretty sure. But just the language in it that was used was beautiful. So at this point, I haven't solidified my star rating for it. I think I've marked it down as a 4, and I'll see how it sits with me, and I may up it to a 5. At this point, it's like between a 4 and 4.5. I'm like, it was fantastic. It was phenomenal. I don't know if it'll go down in history as one of like my top tier, like top favorite books, and I'm trying to get better about reserving like the 5s for those, for the ones that like burn into my soul. But this one is one that like I could see myself rereading, definitely. I think it's one I'll pick up just to look back at those quotes. And I think it's one that I'm going to think about for a while. So, you know, I'll see over time. Sometimes with books like that, after a period of time goes by, I adjust my rating a bit to see if how I feel about it has changed, or if I've noticed it is sticking with me so much more, kind of thing. So I highly recommend it. Michelle does have other books out. She has, I think, a memoir, but told in the style of her brother's life story, I read. She has a poetry collection, I believe, which, oh my goodness, that I'm sure would be gorgeous because of the use of words and the way they flowed in this book. And then she has another one that I believe is based on her grandfather. So I'm quite interested in getting my hands on those and reading them. I'm glad I finally read this book. I say finally, which is a bit ironic because it's probably one of my newer books. My mom got it for me last year, but I've been so excited for it. So even though it's like one of the newest editions, it feels a long time coming. So I am so glad that I read it. If it's one you've been thinking about, or if you're wanting to read more books by Indigenous authors, more books set in Canada, beautiful like descriptions of the weather, and the different areas surrounding. It's definitely very character driven, extremely character driven, and I really highly recommend it. So that is my review for A Grandmother Begins the Story by Michelle Porter. If you've read it, if you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.